Massillon City Council meeting for Monday, March 20th, 2023. We have in attendance with us the following city officials.
Mayor Kathy Cazell-Perry, Safety Service Director Barb Sylvester,
Present.
Law Director Justin Richard,
Present.
Assistant Law Director Edmund Knapp,
Present.
Economic Development Director David Maley.
Present.
Is there anyone else from administration I missed? That's it, Madam President.
Thank you and welcome to everyone in attendance tonight. Under number 5 on the agenda is where the public can speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. And then again, under number 17 is where the public can speak on any topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda. I'd like to remind all of you, please, if you have a cell phone, to mute it or turn it off, set it vibrates so it doesn't interfere with our communications. Thank you. Roll call.
Kramer,
Present.
Gray,
Here.
Howard Smith,
Here.
Kern Kane,
Here.
Lewis,
Present.
Lombardi, Slutes,
Here.
Sneed,
Here.
and Viola.
Here.
Roll call of 8 present.
Councilman Lewis.
Make a motion that we excuse Councilman Lombardi.
Second by Councilman Hurricane. Roll call.
Gray,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Kern Kane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
and Kramer.
Yes.
8 yes to excuse Councilman Lombardi.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilman Lombardi has been excused. Councilman Hurricane.
Thank you, Madam President. Would you all stand and join me in the Lord's Prayer and pledge allegiance? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Hurricane. Madam Clerk, are the minutes of the previous meeting transcribed and open for public viewing?
Yes, they are.
Are there any additions or corrections to be made?
No, there are not.
Then the minutes stand approved as written. We are at the point where the public can speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. But before we do that, I'd like to make a couple of comments. Before COVID, I addressed the issue of public speaks at council meetings, and I received some negative feedback. I'm a tough old broad, and I can take the criticism. It does, however, make me sad to have to address this issue again, but I must. I guess I don't understand why people can't treat each other with respect. If you turn on TV to any news station, you'll see why it doesn't happen. That's all you hear are people bickering back and forth. As president of the city council, my main job is to conduct a council meeting in a structured, orderly fashion. I am not here to keep the public from speaking under items 5 and 17 on the agenda, but I am, however, responsible for keeping the demeanor civil, respectful, non-aggressive, and orderly. Inside voices would be greatly appreciated. Our microphone system amplifies our voices adequately. I have shown tolerance in the past, but I feel I need to set a couple of guidelines for future meetings. Diane, did you put these guidelines right there? No. Okay. Okay, the guidelines will be posted back there, but they're not right now. Guidelines for public speaks. There will be no personal attacks on anyone present or non-present. You may, however, address departments or positions. Calling someone a liar will not be tolerated. Mistruth may have been spoken, gets the same message across. Please remember this is not a question and answer session. Please limit your comments to 4 minutes or less, and when you finish, please sign the paper on the county account. Having said that, we are at number 5 on the agenda, where the public can speak on any topic that does appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please come forward, state your name, address, topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 4 minutes or less. Seeing none, we'll move to new miscellaneous business. Do we have anything? Nothing? Introduction of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 22, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to enter into an agreement with Allison Dairy to provide an economic development inducement grant to fund startup costs including build-out, equipment, etc. for gasoline and gunpowder located at 155 Lincoln Way West, Suite A-096, Massillon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Hurricane.
Thank you, Madam President. First reading.
Thank you. Ordinance number 22, 2023 has received first reading. Ordinance number 23, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to advertise for, receive, and evaluate statements of qualifications and to negotiate and enter into contracts for the design and the inspection of the Massillon Police Department renovation project, all in accordance with Section 153.65 to 153.73 of the Ohio Revised Code and the City of Massillon qualification-based selection QDS process and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Slutes.
This is for renovations in the police department in order to maintain completion date requirements for the American Rescue Plan Act funding. There is emergency language, so therefore I'd like to make a motion that we waive the rules, require 3 readings, and bring ordinance number 23-2023 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Sneed. Roll call for suspension.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Viola, Kramer,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Viola, Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Howard Smith.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 23, 2023 is passed. Ordinance number 24, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to advertise for and receive sealed bids and to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder upon the approval of the Board of Control for the Erie Street South Improvement Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Sneed.
Thank you, Madam President. This time, I'd like to waive the 3 rules, waive the rules requiring 3 readings and bring ordinance number 24-2023 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Viola. Roll call for suspension.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
and Hurricane.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Slutes,
Yes.
Sneed,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 24, 2023 has passed. Ordinance number 25, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to enter into contract with the selected firm, Environmental Design Group, based on the City of Massillon Quality-Based Selection QDS process, upon the approval of the Board of Control for the inspection of the Erie Street South Improvement Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Sneed.
Thank you, Madam President. This time, I'd like to waive the rule requiring 3 readings, bring ordinance number 25-2023 forward for a vote.
Second by Councilman Viola. Roll call for suspension.
Sneed,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Slutes.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
and Snead.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 25, 2023 has passed. Ordinance number 26, 2023.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 12-12 Summer Concert Series Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis?
Yes, this is a pass-through of donations for the summer concert series fund. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I make a motion that we suspend the rules requiring 3 readings, reading ordinance number 26-20234 for a vote.
Second by Councilman Gray. Roll call for suspension.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harvey Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
and Viola.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harvey Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
and Creamer.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 26, 2023 is passed. Ordinance number 27, 2023.
An ordinance making certain appropriations from the unappropriated balance of the 1201 Street Construction M&R Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to have a representative of the administration come forward, please.
Anyone in particular?
Who can speak to this ordinance?
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Good evening.
Yes, I just wanted a quick summary of what this $50,000 appropriation is to be used for.
Yes, and this is coming out of the 1201 account, the street account. But basically, 20,000 of that's going into the services and contracts line, and that is to continue the removal of the trees that we've been doing along 21, unsafe, trees that, again, are the trees kind of just weeds growed out, and to continue that project. And that's the approximate amounts that we'll need to do that, to continue that. And then the 30,000 that's on here is for guardrail repairs. We did an assessment of all of our guardrails in the city. As you may have seen, we've already done quite a few of them. And council did pass when we redid the guardrail down on the Erie underpass, because we did have fatality there, and put the attenuators on there. Also on 21, we've got the guardrails and put the attenuators on there. It helps that, again, with any crashes or accidents that we do have there. So throughout the city, we do have a program in place. Our police department has a policy. Any accidents that is city property, it is given to my office. And then, of course, we work with the street department, get quotes and so forth. And so if the accident, the persons have insurance, we do get refunded for that as well. But through this program, we do have, this is the approximate amount right now for major guardrails that we do repairs to.
I have no other questions. Thank you. With that, I make the motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for ordinance number 27-20234 for a vote.
Second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call for suspension.
Howard Smith,
Yes.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
and Gregg.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Hurricane,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
and Harvey Smith.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 27, 2023 is passed. Ordinance number 28, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Safety of the City of Massillon, Ohio, to enter into a 1-year contract between the City of Massillon, Ohio, and the Board of Stark County Commissioners for the housing of City of Massillon, Ohio, codified ordinance prisoners at the Stark County Jail, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Lewis.
Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Seeing none, I make a motion to suspend the rules requiring 3 readings for ordinance number 28-20234 for a vote.
Second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call for suspension.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harvey Smith,
Yes.
and Herb King.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Slutes,
Yes.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harvey Smith,
Yes.
Herb King,
Yes.
and Lewis.
Yes.
8 yes for passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ordinance number 2022 is passed. Madam Clerk, is there any unfinished business?
No, there is not.
Are there any petitions and general communications?
Yes, we have a request for a transfer of a liquor license from Starway Lounge LLC, first and second floor and patio, located at 49 Lincoln Way East, Massillon, Ohio, 44646, to Smitty Steak and Ale LLC, first and second floor and patio, located at 49 Lincoln Way East, Massillon, Ohio, 44646. Permit classes are D1, D2, D3, and D3A, and is located in Ward 2.
Councilman Dolan, did you get information on this?
Yes, I did, Madam President, thank you.
Madam Clerk, are there any bills, accounts, and claims?
Yes, we have a bill in the amount of $133.35 payable to U.S. Bank Equipment Finance, which is our March payment for our copier. And we also have a payment of $1,588.34 payable to Copley, Ohio newspapers for the publication of our December and January ordinances.
Councilman Lewis,
I make a motion to pay the bills.
second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call.
Snead,
Yes.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harvey Smith,
Yes.
Herb King,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Slutes.
Yes.
8 yes to pay the bills.
Clerk will pay the bills and charge them to their proper accounts. Reports of city officials.
Yes, we have the treasurer's report for February 2023. We have the mayor's report for February 2023. And we also have the auditor's report for February 2023.
Councilman Lewis,
Make a motion that we accept the auditor's report.
second by Councilman Gregg. Roll call.
Viola,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Harvard Smith,
Yes.
Herb King,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Slutes,
Yes.
and Snead.
Yes.
8 yes to accept the auditor's report.
The auditor's report has been accepted. Reports of committees. Our next work session will be Monday, March 27th, 2023 at 6:30 with a Health and Welfare Committee meeting prior to that at 6 p.m. Councilman Kramer?
I'm sorry, I thought it was changed to 5:30.
That's 6.
Thank you.
It's 6.
6 o'clock. Resolutions and requests of councils. Anyone have anything? Oh, the calendar, we have nothing. Third reading ordinances, we have nothing. Second reading ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 15, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Massillon, Ohio to enter into an agreement with Carolyn Wharton to provide an economic and development inducement grant to fund startup costs, including build-out, equipment, etc., for Little Sprouts West, located at 2112 Lincoln Way West, Massillon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Hurricane.
Thank you, Madam President. Second reading.
Thank you. Ordinance number 15, 2023 has received second reading. Ordinance number 17, 2023.
An ordinance amending Section 2B occupation list of class titles of ordinance number 127-1997 to add 3 new positions within the 705-730 Health Department and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Gregg.
Thank you, Madam President. This ordinance was given first reading at the last meeting that I was not able to attend. Council members, specifically in rules and courts, do we have any further questions or comments?
Yes, I asked last week, I don't know if I responded or Greg and Matt, I think, a question regarding this request for these 3 positions was approved unanimously by the City Board of Health. That's their job. And it's being paid in full, and the notice they gave us with the Workforce Development Grant through November 30th of 2027, which eliminates heavy expense from the city budget. What's not addressed is what happens after November 30th, 2027. So I asked Mr. Mack if he could check into that and see if that's something that we need to consider, that to make these our temporary positions, either that or at that time that we make sure that if it's not the grant, whether they're just moved into the city budget, we have some recourse, whether we deem we really need them or not. Mr. Mack?
Thank you, Councilwoman. I did look into that issue for your request and review the grant application materials. There's nothing in the grant that requires the city to have funding for the position in perpetuity after the grant funding runs out. So it could be your prerogative to expressly state that in the ordinance or say nothing, in which case you wouldn't be obligated to fund it further after the grant runs out. However, I've also had subsequent conversations with the mayor's administration, specifically the mayor and the health commissioner, and I think they may have obviated this entirely with what they were proposing to do. I don't know if the safety service director can speak to this, but I think what they're planning on doing may resolve these concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvester.
Yes, and I believe that our health commissioner did speak on that when she was here, and it's also stated in the letter, and it will be made clear to any applicants that are interviewed, and it will also be a part of the job description. At this point in time, it's hopeful that it will be extended after the 4.5 years, because again, this is the same workforce grant that we received during COVID, and they have extended it now for another 4.5 years. As far as what Commissioner Argent has said is that the state has realized that, you know, a lot of the health departments have been short-staffed, and that's why they're continuing these grants. So they're hopeful for that, but the plan is to make sure that all applicants are aware of that at the time of any interviews and at the time of the job descriptions handed to them.
Thank you, Barb. Councilman Gray?
I have a question, Mrs. Sylvester. They're made aware of what?
They're made aware of that this is being funded through a workforce grant.
It may not continue.
And that's correct. And just as Attorney Mack said, it's clearly stated in the grant as well.
Okay.
So they will be made aware of that, that that's how this is being funded through.
Thank you. Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. What will the job descriptions be for these future employees?
Well, as Commissioner Argent was up here and spoke of it, it's also listed in the letter that you were given to at that time. I can point them out to you here if you want me to read those back to you again. They've got the outreach coordinator, the part-time language service coordinator, and a seasonal intern. That's what was in the letter that was given to you from Commissioner Argent at the work session.
Councilwoman Creamer? I have no question. Councilman Lewis?
I personally would like to see this possibly get a second reading. I have some follow-up questions I don't think we can get resolution on right now. I know that the law department has someone that works in domestic violence that has that's grant supported. So I would like to look at how their job is classified and see if there's a way that we actually would have it within our classifications that make it a grant supported position as compared to just creating a new position. If we could just buy ourselves 2 weeks to double check on that, I'd appreciate it.
Is there a time constraint on this legislation?
Well, there isn't a time constraint, but again, the money is already available. As Commissioner Argent said when she was here, the money and funding is there. So the longer that it takes, the less amount of time you're going to be able to take the full potential of the grant that's there.
Thank you.
Councilman Gray?
Given that, I think that we'll get the second reading tonight so we can get some further questions answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Ordinance number 17, 2023 has received second reading. Resolution number 4, 2023.
A resolution approving the decision of the Massillon Board of Zoning Appeals in case number 2023-2.
Councilwoman Kramer.
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution is requesting council to approve the decision of the Massillon Zoning Board of Appeals denying an appeal filed November 23rd, 2022 in the variance case number 2023-2 from the Massillon Zoning Code for the appellant, Ready Mix and Supply Company, to cease and desist per the order issued by the zoning officials on November 16, 2022. This denial of the appeal was made at a special meeting at the Massillon Zoning Board of Appeals on February 23rd, 2023. This evening we had a public hearing at 5:30. We did hear from Attorney Runkle representing Mr. Brossenham, and also neighbors in that area that were opposed, were in favor of the Massillon Zoning Board denying the appeal. The past couple weeks, we have received documents from the law department regarding the transcripts from the Massillon Zoning Board. In addition, we have received some supporting facts denying the appeal of case number 2023-2. The first is processing, crushing, and or recycling of concrete materials with a crushing machine is not a permitted use in I-1 light industrial zoning designation applicable to the property. I'm just going to reference our ordinance chapter 1169.01, the intent. So the I-1 light industrial district is designed so as to primarily accommodate wholesale activities, warehouses, and industrial operations whose external physical effects are restricted to the area of the district and in no manner affect in a detrimental way any of the surrounding districts. The I-1 district is so structured as to permit, along with any specified uses, manufacturing, compounding, processing, packaging, assembly, and or treatment of finished or semi-finished products from previously prepared material. It is further intended that the processing of raw material for shipment in bulk form to be used in an industrial operation at another location is not permitted. Item number 2, the processing, crushing, and or recycling of concrete materials with a crushing machine is a different use than the operation of a facility for the production of ready-mix concrete materials, and the appellant has failed to demonstrate with reliable, competent evidence that such use is an incidental use to the operation of such facility. 3, processing, crushing, and or recycling of concrete materials with a crushing machine is not a prior conforming use that occurred on the property prior to the designation of the property as I-1 light industrial zoning. Number 4, even if the appellant had demonstrated with reliable, competent evidence that the appellant's operation of a ready-mix concrete facility is a prior non-conforming use of the property that occurred prior to the designation of the property as I-1 light industrial zoning, the processing, crushing, and or recycling of concrete materials with the crushing machine is an impermissible expansion of such non-conforming use. I want council to take into effect, consider, in the transcripts, it was stated that multiple facilities in Stark County perform this activity. And there were 2 companies mentioned in the transcripts, Diana Concrete and Reliable Ready Mix. With the help of Tracy Ward, she provided us documents today stating that Diana Concrete is listed as an industrial 2, industrial heavy district. Also, Reliable Ready Mix, there were 2 parcels, industrial light and industrial heavy. So for those activities to based on this information and Canton's ordinance, industrial light Building materials, sales, yards, including concrete mixing, falls under industrial light. So in Canton, where this falls under mixing of concrete, is industrial light. There's no mention of crushing, processing concrete in an industrial light district. Also, this activity, per the transcripts, the concrete has never been crushed on our property before, and that's because the previous owner didn't choose to. So this is new activity that's being performed in this industrial lights area. So at this point, I would like to open it up for council that has any additional questions or clarification regarding this request. Any questions, Councilwoman Hurricane or Howard Smith?
Let me ask questions. Anyone? Yeah, I wanted to ask a question. They had talked about how, the initial concrete mountain, and they brought in machines. And I'm just wondering if they used different machines at that time that they'll be using in the future, because he also talked about how now they're putting in small pads. So if I could have either the attorney or the owner of Youth Ready Mix address if that makes a difference in the process and the sound and the machines they're using and jackhammers compared to how they'll be doing it from this point forward several weeks a year.
Adam Brosnahan, owner of Youth Ready Mix Supply Company. Can you, one more time?
So you talked about how it was the big mountain and they had to bring in all these big machines. Will they be bringing in those same machines every time, or will they not need as big of machines? And then you talked about how it was Big Mountain, but now you're pouring small little pads that are broken up as you go. So will that make a whole difference in the dust and the noise when it comes time to make it into the aggregate again?
Absolutely. So originally we had a mountain and it was big and it was concrete that was poured on top of each other. So concrete does bond to itself. And it took two 80,000-pound excavators with hydraulic hammers, plus a couple other small ones during the 2020-21 time when this became such a big deal. A lot of repetitive hammering. They worked Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5, and it took months, right, to get through that. So we got through that initial mountain, that material was sold off, and not quite 2 years later, we processed again. But in the meantime, instead of building a mountain, the concrete would come back in the trucks, be dumped flat on the ground, in 6 to a foot thick, 6 inches to a foot thick. And then that was busted up into smaller pieces then, and then pushed into a pile to the side. And then a pile's made, and then instead of two 80,000-pound excavators coming back to do the work, we used two 30,000-pound excavators to do the work. There's a considerable difference in what you're doing. And also the process didn't take months, it took weeks.
So you're saying the new process will not make as much noise or dust?
Correct, and it's not, it doesn't go on and on.
And it's not going to go on
for days
because
and
you
days.
changed the way, you're
And
not
you
going to be ever going through a giant mountain
Yeah,
again.
and you don't have two 80,000-pound excavators with hydraulic hammers running 10 hours a day sitting on top of a mountain.
So you don't anticipate them ever coming in again with that kind of
Correct.
machinery? Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd like to ask Assistant Law Director, just to clarify that with these facts, that the activity that's taking place is not permitted under our I-1 light industrial zoning, that this processing and crushing is a different use than the operation of the facility and the protection of ready mix. And 3, the processing, crushing of materials with this machine is not a was not a prior non-conforming use that occurred on the property prior to the designation of the property of I-1 Light Industrial Zone. So are those, and the information that was provided at the zoning board that reference the two concrete companies, they are industrial heavy in Canton. So they possibly are performing these activities under a different district, a heavy district. Am I understanding that correctly?
You're understanding what the Board of Zoning Appeals found based on the evidence that was presented at the hearing. And I don't want to give you my conclusions, of course, but that is what the BZA concluded, and that's the decision that's before you. So I think with that caveat, I think you have stated it correctly, Councilman.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Harbert Smith?
Thank you. This is a question for Law Director Matt. In the papers we received from Mr. Runkle, Attorney Runkle, it states that the initial cease and desist order is factually incorrect and must be overturned by council. And I did go back and read those transcripts and everything from the meeting, and they kept going on to whether it was like secondhand or first-hand material and things like that. And Mr. Johnson's statements, everything he stated was kind of prior to where later on in the transcripts they began to talk about how, you know, they more or less proved that it was still virgin material, not secondhand material. Does that have a bearing on anything? Because Mr. Johnson made no other, after that fact was pretty much established that it is virgin material still, Mr. Johnson didn't have anything to say in the code enforcement. So I'm just wondering if that has any bearing.
That would be for you guys to decide. Under, I think, how the BZA interpreted the I-1 designation, I'm not sure how that distinction would make a difference, but it would be, you know, this body's determination and its interpretation and application of the zoning ordinance, you know, in its prerogative, if it's worth finding there is a difference between those two things.
Anyone else? Councilman Young?
Thank you, Madam President, and I'll keep it brief. This question is from Mr. Brosnahan. You stated you always hire an outside company to come in and do this brushing for you, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, these other companies that are referenced, do they do the same thing, or do they crush on site with their own machinery? Do you have any plan of purchasing your own machinery?
Originally, when this started, the intention was to get through our initial site that we had and then to set up a permanent facility to crush concrete and resell that product. But with everything that's went on, it makes no sense to make any investments in that regard.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Kramer?
Seeing no more questions, I would like to waive the rules requiring the 3 readings and bring resolution 4-2023 forward for a vote. And this vote, if you are in favor of approving the decision of the Massillon Zoning Board, you would be in favor, you would vote yes. And if you are opposed to the decision of the Massillon Zoning Board, you would vote no.
Second by Councilman Lewis. Roll call for suspension.
Kramer?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Howard Smith?
Yes.
Hurricane?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Sluse?
Yes.
Sneed?
Yes.
And Viola.
Yes.
8 yes for suspension.
And for passage.
Gray?
No.
Howard Smith?
No.
Hurricane?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Sluse?
Yes.
Sneed?
Yes.
Viola?
Yes.
And Kramer?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 no to approve the boarding zone of appeals decision to keep the cease and desist.
Madam Clerk, resolution number 4, 2023 has passed. Work number 17 on the agenda, where anyone from the public can come forward and speak on any topic that did not appear on tonight's agenda. If you wish to do so, please state your name, address, topic you wish to discuss, and please limit your comments to 4 minutes or less.
Yo, Danzy, 2014 Tennyson Avenue, Northeast, Massillon, Ohio. First, I want to correct something that I said 2 weeks ago about the code violations. I was speaking only of commercial properties and not of residential properties. Some people brought that up to me. So I wasn't speaking of people that own residences. I was speaking of commercial only. And so then I did some research, because you know I like to do research. And I apologize if I'm the guilty one that has called people's names, so I won't do that again. Facts, well they are, but I won't call them more names. I found out that the reason that the judge doesn't get anything for these commercial properties is, I brought my notes so I wouldn't forget anything. When they have a violation, they then get a first letter with 10 days to appeal it. Then they get a second and final notice. Then it goes to the Massillon City Building Board of Appeals. Now, if they put a Band-Aid on what's wrong, then it doesn't even get to the Board of Appeals. So it very regularly never will get to the court, because they do things to keep from getting to the court. They go through the Board of Appeals. If they should happen to get to the Board of Appeals, they have 10 days to act on their order. Then it's given to the Massillon Law Department, where it can be criminally or civilly prosecuted. But what I found out is the reason it's been 10 years is that it never gets to go that far, because they are babysat and allowed to put Band-Aids on their little things so that it never gets to the court. So again, I'm asking council if you would please consider creating some type of legislation to stop these people that have code violating buildings from renting and still collecting money, because now we've torn down one of their buildings at the cost of about $450,000 that the city is paying for, that I've asked for money so many times that I know you've noticed I just don't ask the city for anything anymore, because I was active in the 90s and the city didn't give me one dime, so I finally got the sense, Gail, they're not going to give you anything, quit asking. But I believe that that money that's used to tear down somebody's privately owned building could be used for affordable housing in the city of Massillon. And I am still working on that. I'm just not going to ask the city for anything, because I get it, the city's not going to give me anything. I had someone else ask me about how many, well, let me just say, the person who shall remain nameless owns 33 buildings downtown Massillon. 33 buildings. And then there are 2 other landowners, commercial landowners, who have things pending against them now. One of them, and I have the address, I don't know what it is, 39 Lincoln Way, has had orders against them since October of 2022. And now they're on a 60-day plan of action. So I don't know if council is aware of all this stuff, but what they do is just enough not to ever go to court. Then I wasn't here for the meeting that they had when, I forgot who it was that talked about the different buildings. But what I was told was when they had that fire back on Easter, whatever year that was, that those were different people in office. So I understand that now. Those people are gone. So now it's all new people, new council people, new everybody. So you're still abiding by what those people did in 2009 or whatever year it was. That needs to change. And then I was told that all they have to do is keep the buildings safe to occupy. They said in the last meeting that you had that you were told that even when you take care of the code violations, that will not rehab the buildings. Some of those buildings need to come down, and somebody needs to speak up and say they need to come down before you have another building to tear down at the cost of $450,000 of the city's taxpayers' money. The only other thing I wanted to ask, the ARPA. Are you guys familiar with what that stands for? And are you familiar with all the things that it can be used for and that it cannot be used for? Because when I looked up council's responsibility to that, I found out that council is supposed to make legislation that the administration administrates. The administration is not supposed to be coming to council meeting and telling you guys what to do. And that's what I keep observing. You know, I'm here every week. You're supposed to tell the administration what to do. Come to some type of agreement. The administration isn't supposed to come in here and tell you what to do. You were elected by city people to represent them. Administration wasn't elected by anybody. They applied for jobs and got paid. But the people of the city, me included being one of them, we're depending on you to do what's best for us. So that's all that I'm going to ask, that once again, you will reconsider creating legislation to do what's best for the city of Massillon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Anyone else?
Hi, Robin Bloom, 846 Walnut Avenue Southeast. Along with the downtown buildings, we're also losing a lot of downtown homes. Wallman, we're set to lose 3 more on the other side of the KFC, was bought by the Altman Company. By the end of the month, they're going to be torn down. So at this point in time now, we've lost 6 homes either due to fire or progress. We've lost almost 6 homes due to either fire or progress in 5 years. Progress through preservation. If we don't start preserving these old homes and these old buildings through downtown, you're not going to have much of a downtown, you're not going to have much downtown living because it's all going to be gone. So if we're getting grants to fund demo, why can't we find grants for preservation? Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Anyone else? Seeing none, Councilman Hurricane,
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adjourn.
second by Councilman Viola, roll call.
Harvard Smith.
Yes.
Hurricane.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Smoot.
Yes.
Snead.
Yes.
Viola.
Yes.
Kramer.
Yes.
And Gray.
Yes.
8 yes to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.